Hello everyone, my name is Molly Stenberg and Carrie Ash is with me today. We'd like to welcome you to our Smarter Lunchrooms Team Training Webinar. I work with the Montana Team Nutrition Program out of MSU in Bozeman, and we're funded with a USDA Team Nutrition Training Grant.
And thank you for joining us. This is Carrie Ash. I'm the director with the Montana State University Extension Nutrition Education Program. The SNAP educators across the state are part of our nutrition education program through MSU Extension, and we're excited to be joining you today. Thank you, Molly, for having us. So today we are going to cover some information to help you complete a Smarter Lunchrooms program or project in your school. We're going to begin by introducing Smarter Lunchrooms. We're going to talk about the 4-step path to creating a Smarter Lunchroom. We'll cover the project timeline, and then we'll dive into the 6 different strategies that are listed on the Smarter Lunchrooms scorecard that you've all received. We will go over resources and ideas that can be used in your lunchrooms, and we'll talk about some Montana school success stories to get you excited and ready to go. We have sent out at this time hard copies of the materials in the mail to you. As well, Molly has sent out an email with all of the attachments that we're going to look at today as part of the email. So you should have all of the materials at this time, and if you don't, please contact us and we'll get you what you need.
Okay, thank you, Carrie. So today we're just going to give you a brief introduction to what the Smarter Lunchrooms movement is and how it fits in really nicely with team nutrition and school food service as well as SNAP education goals. So the Smarter Lunchrooms movement started in 2009 at Cornell University, and it's all based upon the idea that people make choices really mindlessly. We live in a busy, crazy age, and so we really know that if we design a lunchroom or design an environment specifically based on how we know choices are made, we can really help students choose healthier foods in the lunchroom. One thing I like about Smarter Lunchrooms is it's free or low-cost changes are made in the lunchroom. So most Smarter Lunchroom changes you can make for $50 or less. And these changes encourage students to choose and eat more fruits and vegetables. Smarter Lunchrooms can help decrease food waste. It helps increase customer service and improves the cafeteria atmosphere. It's a nice way to increase participation in school meal programs, and it's all based upon the 6 principles of behavioral economics. This website listed on the bottom of this slide, smarterlunchrooms.org, would take you to the National Smarter Lunchrooms website where they have a plethora of useful materials and more information.
So how does it work? Feel free to take out your copy of the 4-step path and follow along with us as Molly and I walk through the steps. The 4 steps are SPOT, 2 is plan, 3 is do, and 4 is prove. To be very brief, the SPOT step requires using the Smarter Lunchrooms scorecard to look for areas of improvement. The plan step works on creating a Smarter Lunchrooms action plan using the results of that scorecard. The do step is after you have built your action plan, it's carrying those actions out. And the prove step is showing off your improvements, where you take photos of the results, you complete a second Smarter Lunchrooms scorecard to show the change in your score from beginning to end of the project. And of course, you share your successes with school administration and parents. Molly and I are going to walk you through each of the steps so that you have a pretty good idea of how you will go about doing this project over the school year.
Great. The first step is the spot it step, and you spot it by assessing how smart your lunchroom is with this Smarter Lunchroom scorecard. So on this scorecard, there are 60 strategies that are proven to help nudge healthier eating, and the strategies are all based upon those 6 behavioral economics principles. So the scorecard looks like this. There's pretty heavy in verbiage of food service, so please do meet with your food service director to look through the scorecard. So if you have any questions about anything, you can ask them about it. It's divided up into these main categories, giving schools the opportunity to focus on fruit or to really promote more vegetables, strategies that you can use to highlight your salad bar, moving more white milk, ideas or strategies to boost the sales of reimbursable meals, and then some simple strategies to improve your lunchroom atmosphere and to involve students or school community in that. So when you're planning to do your Smarter Lunchroom scorecard, it's important to set up a time to complete it as a team. We find that it's really helpful to have a new set of eyes, so SNAP educator set of eyes, joining in with the food service director and working together on completing that scorecard tends to work really well. On the right, there's a picture of the Smarter Lunchrooms frequently asked questions. Please do read through that. It'll give you a little background information so that you can complete your scorecard as accurately as possible. It's good to arrive about 20 minutes prior to the start of the lunch line to get ready to do the scorecard, where you'll complete your scorecard, take some pictures. Once you have your scorecard complete, you'll tally up your score, and then please do scan and send that completed scorecard to me, Molly Stenberg. Please don't get caught up on your score. If it's really high, that's awesome. If it's in the middle, that's okay too. If it's lower, it's all good. And it's good because it enables you to see where you're at now. If anything that is not checked, you could view as an opportunity that you could try to do that. But like I said, it's just a way to see where you're at now, and so don't stress about the score.
Thanks, Molly. And in step 2, after you and your partner have completed the scorecard, you'll sit down together to look through that scorecard, and you can use this scorecard summary sheet that we've provided to you to kind of lead your discussion. So the first thing you might want to talk about is what the first impressions were. So when you walked into the lunchroom, what did you first notice? Of course, the school food service director has been in that lunchroom many times. The SNAP educator, it might be their first time, so it might be good to share what stands out to you. Then you will move into a discussion of strengths. Strengths would be things or areas of the scorecard where you made a bunch of check marks of things that your school is already doing. So you would want to list what is that lunchroom doing really good at, because those might be areas that we don't need to focus any further attention on. The next section of the summary is opportunities. So opportunities would be unchecked sections of the scorecard, or entire sections where there was maybe only 1, 2, or no check marks. Those might be areas where it would be a good idea to focus on selecting some strategies from. And so next steps would be the discussion that the partners in this project would have on what areas they agree that they could make some changes in. On this slide, you will see the Smarter Lunchroom Action Plan for the 2017-2018 school year. You've received a copy of this electronically and in the mail, and this is what we'll ask you to fill out after you have discussed your scorecard. You'll notice that all of the focus areas from the scorecard are listed on here, as well as the strategy you select and the permission needed, the tasks to be completed, the person responsible for those tasks, and of course the evaluation plan. I'm going to go ahead and advance to the next slide to talk a little bit more about the process for filling out that action plan, so feel free to keep that in front of you. So using that scorecard and the summary sheet, as a partnership or as a team, you'll discuss some possible Smarter Lunchroom strategies to work on. You'll complete a draft of that action plan, and make sure that all of the interventions or the check-marked areas that you decide to put on your action plan, make sure they're all directly from the scorecard. So the only things that we'll have on our action plan to work towards are those proven strategies listed on the scorecard. You'll want to ensure that there is buy-in by the persons needed before selecting strategies. So if you have a strategy that requires someone to do something, make sure that that person is willing to do that. So make plans to involve students and staff as necessary while you're completing a draft of that action plan. You'll also need to discuss evaluation options for each change planned. The final column on that action plan asks for your evaluation ideas for each strategy change that you're going to make. And so most definitely, when you participate in a call with Molly and myself before moving ahead with that draft of your action plan, we'll be talking about those evaluation options, and we'll be asking questions like, I see you have so-and-so listed as a person that will be completing something. Have you spoken with them yet? To ensure that that buy-in truly is there. So for some of us, the evaluating of these changes might be a new topic. So I want to give a few ideas on how you might evaluate something. So the reason we would evaluate something is to ensure that it's working. So for example, if we're going to try and increase the amount of white milk sold in the lunchroom, we would need to know how much white milk was sold before and after we made a change in the way that the white milk is set up in front of the chocolate milk. So taking account of the foods that are selected before and after a change is made is one way to do that. So if it's a fruit and vegetable-based intervention, we might measure the number of servings or pounds of fruit and vegetables sold before and after we made a change. If it was white milk and chocolate milk that we're measuring, then we might want to count those before and after. Food service records on ordering before and after the change is made can be used, as well as student surveys. If we're looking at improving the environment of the lunchroom, we would need to ask students how they felt about those improvements that we had made. We encourage you to think about measurable outcomes. So when you're looking at things or ways to evaluate, think about actual numbers that we can get. The amount of money saved, how much more of a fruit and vegetable was selected after an intervention was tried, how much less food waste there was, or are students using more of the salad bar since you moved it. Those are examples of measurable outcomes. And so we'll discuss those action plans on a conference call with your team in January, as you'll see on the upcoming timeline.
Okay, step 3 of the 4-step path is the do it step. And so once you have your action plan written out and that we've talked about it over the phone call and we know what you're doing and how you're going to evaluate it, then you'll be turned loose to do it. So this is the fun part. We do encourage you to try to bring everyone in your lunchroom, or especially your frontline staff, bring them on board so that everyone's aware of the changes. Give them a chance to ask questions or offer suggestions so that they're part of the plan, and that can really help create buy-in and make your changes sustainable. So if your change requires it, make sure that you're providing training and using good communication to your staff so that everyone is part of the plan and supports what you're doing. In your do it phase, now's the time that you would take some photos of your lunchroom in any area that you want to work on. So if you're doing a strategy that involves your salad bar, or if you're planning on increasing the decor or putting up some signage in your lunchroom, take pre-change photos before. So take a picture of the plain walls that you plan on decorating, or your salad bar that's how it is now, and then you can compare that nicely with post photos after you've made the change. So think pre versus post, and if you could get 5 to 7 good pre-photos and then compare them at the end with 5 to 7 post photos, that's a really nice way to evaluate your change. So thinking about changes, a small change can really be made overnight. If you're going to put your white milk in front of your chocolate milk, you could do that any day of the week. If you're looking at making a larger change, such as moving your salad bar out to the front of the line, or something that would be pretty significant change to students as they're going through the lunchroom, sometimes it's better to make that over a longer break, so possibly over a Christmas break or over a 3-day weekend.
Great, thanks Molly. And step 4 is to prove your change. So this is where it's really important that you're carrying out your evaluation plans. So if you have some measurements to take before you do, step 3 do, then you would want to get those measurements before you make those changes. And in step 4, you're taking the same measurements to see if you have any change in your intervention area, so a change in fruit and vegetable consumption, or a change in student perception of the lunchroom environment, or a change in milk sales of white milk, for example. So you're going to complete the post-assessment scorecard during this step as well. So it's the same scorecard from the beginning, but our assumption is if you've made 1 to 3 changes that you will have a change in the scorecard scoring. So you would improve your score by having made those changes. You'll also take those after photos or post photos of the areas that were changed so that you can show the difference based on the interventions that you selected. You will submit that final scorecard, a final report that we did provide to you, and those photos to Molly Stenberg, and Molly will of course share those with me. And then you will share your success by completing the final report, and if desired, we will help you to write up your success story and create a press release that can be shared with local media. And that's step 4, the Prove It step.
Great, thank you, Carrie. So the timeline for this project runs from November through March. And you can see that there's kind of nice, it's set up monthly, so if you're staying on track, you'll have kind of a monthly timeline to meet. We have sent you hard copies of the Smarter Lunchrooms Handbook and the scorecard, as well as electronic copies via email, so you will have those. Right now you're watching the training webinar, so you're through the November tasks. As you move into December is a good time to meet with your team and complete the Smarter Lunchrooms scorecard, the Spot It step. As part of spotting it, you will do your scorecard, take your pre-photos, and then start thinking about the Plan It, drafting an action plan. So if you can be planning by December, that would be ideal. And then by January 8th, we would like you to submit your pre-documents to us. So that would be your first scorecard, a draft of your action plan with at least 1 to 3 changes and how you will evaluate those changes, and then request a time for a check-in call. And then we'd like to talk with your team in January, and we will make every effort to schedule that phone call whenever it works best for your team. If you feel like you would like to use the Christmas break as a nice opportunity to make a big change, you can do that. If you do want to do that, please let me know before you go on Christmas break, and we can approve your action and evaluation plan before break so that you can make that change over the break. Okay, so you come back from Christmas break and you'll be starting your Do It step. So when you do your Do It step, you will work on carrying out that action plan that you've already planned out. Again, you'll take your pre-change photos and collect any evaluation data before you make your change. You'll make your change in January to February, and then it would be great to be doing step 4, the Prove It, by March. So if you have a couple weeks to prove it, you'll go back in and do a post scorecard. You'll take 5 to 7 post photos, pre and post photos. You'll take your post photos and then finish up any data collection to evaluate your change. And if you can have that done by late March, we'd appreciate it. You could submit all your final documentation to me, Molly Stenberg, by March 30th. So your final documentation will be the pre and post photos, post-assessment scorecard, and the final report. And then if you'd like, we'd be happy to help you develop a success story and a press release.
Excellent. And Molly talked a bit about taking photos. So one time that you can take the photos is when you complete the pre-assessment scorecard. But since you at that time would not have selected the interventions that you are, or the areas that you're going to be working on, you could take photos then, or you could take photos after you've created your action plan. So either time is okay. But I wanted to go through a few tips for taking photos. So of course, take pictures before and after any of the areas that you do plan to change. And you want to take a variety of pictures of each of those changes. So Molly mentioned 5 to 7. So that's 5 to 7 photos per change that you're going to make. Many of us take photos using a smartphone. So a few tips for taking photos. Please do not take photos of students, as we will not have photo release forms for them. Please take photos before the service line starts or in between lunch periods if there are several lunch periods, so that you can avoid catching students in the photos, and also so you can take pictures before students come through and sometimes make a bit of a mess of things. One tip for using a smartphone is that you can tap the screen to focus the camera up close on any particular item. Take your time when taking photos, and to consider taking photos at eye level, or the way that the elementary school student might see the item. You'll want to consider finding the best light. Natural light is always preferable to using a flash, but if there's no windows in the lunchroom, a flash might be necessary, and you can play around with your phone and determine that. You can, if you are taking a picture of a tray or something that doesn't need to show the layout of the lunchroom, you could carry the item to a windowsill for better lighting. Sometimes a bird's eye view for lunch trays can be better. If you look at the left photos versus the right photos do look a little bit better. They have better focus, better color. So try a few pictures to find the best angle and avoid those shadows that you see on the left-hand side. Focus does make a difference when you're looking at taking photos. So if you look at the photo on the left, it's a little blurry. If you look at the photo on the right, it is crystal clear. So on your smartphone screen, you would get that crystal clear look by tapping the center of the item you want to focus on, and you'll get a better photo. And then, of course, rather than zooming your phone in, which changes the resolution, you might want to just get the camera closer to the object that you're taking a picture of. Also consider taking multiple photos and choosing the best one. So which group of photos here would you rather share as part of a success story? You look at the left and you look at the right, and you see that the right has more color and just pops a little more than the left. That's because they chose a tray that contrasted the food. It's also because they used a patterned background for that particular salad that looks so nice. And so just think about how you take the photos and how you present the items that you're photographing.
And we can't wait to see your photos.
They're so much fun.
Okay, so let's just talk quickly about the 6 principles of behavioral economics are listed here. And from these 6 principles, the strategies from the scorecard were built upon.
So when you're looking at that Smarter Lunchrooms scorecard and it's divided into 6 sections, these are the 6 sections that you're seeing. And Molly and I are going to walk you through each of them and some projects that you might decide to take on, or interventions that you might try.
Okay, the first one is manage portion sizes. So the amount of food available influences how much we eat regardless of the serving size. So we know from Smarter Lunchrooms research, if you're eating with a big spoon off of a big plate, you're more likely to overeat than you would on using a smaller size plate or with a smaller size serving spoon. So some strategies to try with this is to serve condiments or sauces in individual packets, or to provide a small serving size utensil for things such as ranch dressing or croutons. But then conversely, you would use a large serving size utensil, a large spoon, or a large set of tongs for things that we want students to eat more of, like leafy greens or other nutritious foods. So this picture on the left is Hardin High School salad bar. They use nice sized tongs for their fruits and vegetables in their salad bar line. And on the right is Troy School salad bar. They have a couple things going in this picture here which show this principle. The first is the fruit and vegetable cups on the left. Those are pre-portioned to be a half-cup serving size. So we know that students need to have half-cup fruit or vegetable on their lunch tray to have a reimbursable meal. So if they go by and pick up one of those cups, they've already met that menu requirement. And then for things like shredded cheese, sunflower seeds, or croutons, they use a smaller size spoon so that the students are taking less of those items. Another principle is to increase convenience. Foods that are easy to reach, easy to select, or easy to access along their normal travel route are more likely to be eaten. So if we can make healthy food more convenient, students are more likely to choose it. So different strategies include offering fruit and vegetables at least twice in each service line, One common method is to put a nice bowl of fresh fruit at the end of the serving line. So if a student has gotten all the way through the line and doesn't have any fruit or vegetable on their tray, they can easily grab a piece of fruit and then get through the cashier station and go enjoy their lunch. You could also pre-portion fruit and vegetables for fast pickup, like Troy Schools was doing, or you could place the white milk in front of the chocolate milk in the milk coolers. So this is a strategy to increase convenience with a grab-and-go meal. Hardin Schools just takes a cart of these nice colorful salads, and they have them available right at the entrance and exit door of the high school. So students that would be leaving school during the lunch hour could grab a meal on their way out the door. In a middle or elementary school, you could use this concept to have a grab-and-go meal available and maybe place it in a faster service line. So if the students are eating outside, they could quickly get through the line with a grab-and-go meal and go enjoy their lunch. Our Lee School increased their convenience of fresh fruit by using this really nice metal fruit display basket, and they use it at both breakfast and lunch to make it easy for students to grab fruit. Libby Schools participated in a project with us last year, and they made white milk more convenient by simply changing where the crate was located. So on the left, students would come through this lunch line from the left, moving to the right. So their first milk choice was chocolate milk and then the white milk. But simply by moving the chocolate milk behind the white milk, as on the right, students, it's more convenient to reach the white milk, and the sales of their white milk doubled. And this is saving Libby Schools about $2,000 a year in the savings costs. Improving visibility is another strategy to really make the foods that we want them to choose easy to see, place them front and center and at the front of the serving line. So if you're using signage or labels, put those right at eye level and put them right by the foods we want to promote. Place foods in multiple places along the line. Use signage or menus to highlight special items and list the healthiest foods first on the menu or the announcements. If you're a school that offers 3 entrees every day, put your healthiest entree first, because we know that one of the principles supports that we're more likely to choose the first choice because it's easiest and more convenient and highly visible. So this is a spice station at Knoxon Schools. They're improving the visibility of their salad bar with this poster and inviting students to use some of these spices on the salad bar items. And then Broadwater Elementary in Helena improved the visibility of their salad bar by pulling it out and putting it right in the middle of their lunchroom. So when it's on a well-traveled route of traffic flow, as students are walking by it daily, and it's not just stuck in a corner along a wall, makes it more visible.
Excellent. Thanks, Molly. And thank you to all of you who have sent in some of those pictures that we just featured. You can see the importance of a good photo in showing what changes were made. Our fourth behavioral economics strategy is enhancing taste expectations. The idea here is that foods that look and sound delicious are more likely to be selected, and we're more likely to think that they taste delicious as well. So we're looking here to give healthy foods attractive names or to present them attractively. Some strategies to try include giving foods catchy names that excite kids, or using photos or graphics to kind of set that food apart. We can look to add color to service lines using signs, trays, utensils, and linens. It may help to rotate and update decorations regularly, featuring student artwork and input. And one thing that's pretty easy to try and work on is ensuring that the service and dining areas are clean, orderly, and inviting. Here's some signage from Skyview High School in Billings. They are putting up little placards with signs that state what each of those smoothies are. On the right-hand side, you can see that they have a menu listed with fun names for their smoothies, such as the Humdinger or the Whim Wham or the Berry Palooza. So all healthy items could be named. This is just an example of signage for smoothies. The fifth strategy is utilizing suggestive selling. The idea here is that students respond positively to a smile, a cheerful greeting, or a pleasant suggestion or question. We can use signage and train staff to promote healthy foods that we're trying to get children to eat more of by using positive prompts and great customer service. Some strategies to try to utilize suggestive selling include using the power of positive role modeling by asking teachers, administrators, or even older students to talk up school food or come and eat with the younger kids. Using peer-to-peer marketing involving students in making signage and promoting the foods increases the buy-in that those students may have in terms of making those healthy choices. You can train staff to gently prompt selection of balanced meals, or there can be signage and pre-plated complete meals set out so that students know what and how to fill their tray with nutritious foods. Here's a couple photos. You can see in Columbia Falls they have some signage prompts to get students to select healthy foods in their a la carte line. And at Hardin Schools they have a poster here of their mascot loving his lunch, especially those healthy food items in his lunch. And, excuse me, our sixth strategy is to set smart pricing strategies. People like to get a good deal for their money. So this particular strategy uses the power of smart pricing to give healthy foods an edge. Some strategies to try here include offering alternative reimbursable meals made up of healthy a la carte items, because everyone loves to visit the a la carte line, or when bundling items, combining a healthy food and beverage with some of the options available. You could also establish a cash for cookies policy or a cash for sweets policy wherein students cannot charge unhealthy foods to their accounts. And some of these smart pricing strategy intervention areas might be more appropriate for middle or high schools. So if you're working with an elementary school, this may be slightly less applicable. This is Hardin High School's a la carte line where students create a complete or balanced meal, and 3 of the 5 menu items are included, so you see some healthy options listed there.
Okay, I'm happy to share with you there's lots of resources that could help you with some signage or lunchroom atmosphere strategies. So this is Target Range School. They have a nice dry erase menu board, Rock Your Tray, which makes school lunch sound really cool, although this is a breakfast, Rock Your Breakfast Tray, and then a nice poster. So really, if you have posters up, it's nice if you can rotate them quarterly. I'm trying to switch them out every 3 or 4 months so that the students have new things to look through. These are just simple bulletin boards that look really nice from Butte School District, West Elementary School. They have their Harvest of the Month bulletin board on the left, and on the right, they're tying in their YUM curriculum that the SNAP educators are teaching in the classroom, tying that right into what's for lunch with their school meals menu. So those are simple bulletin boards that look really nice. Montfortin School does a weekly taste test of different items, and they display the results of those taste tests on big colorful boards in the cafeteria, which makes a nice nutrition education display. This is an example of some creative marketing materials developed by Livingston students, and these were done by high school students, but I bet you could get middle school students to develop some nice things as well. So promoting fruits and vegetables. And then they had this creative idea where they took this life-size picture of this high school basketball coach and had him holding an apple and really promoting fruit. Got fruit tastes almost as good as victory. So if you have local celebrities or local role models, you could copy this idea and really do your own bulletin board marketing that way. There's more Smarter Lunchrooms resources available on our website. We love sharing what Montana schools have done, and so we've developed 6 Smarter Lunchrooms success stories that are available at this website. I would encourage you to look at them. They range from high schools all the way down to elementary schools. And Michigan Smarter Lunchrooms has a series of about 20 YouTube videos that are less than 2 minutes per video showcasing really simple Smarter Lunchroom strategies that they're doing in Michigan lunchrooms. Really useful. We will provide to you via an email that will come to each team a Smarter Lunchrooms resource sheet that really focuses in on signage and ideas on things you can do to promote things through your lunch line. So this is just a copy of part of it, but within it you can find things like these little placards, whether it be like a little round menu label that you could put a little card in, or I like the one that looks like a fork. You can also find pre-printed label cards that you can print out either with a menu item name in it, or you can print it out and write your own. Smarter Lunchrooms just within the last few months have really increased their resources listed on their website. So the first two things listed here, the creative, fun, descriptive names and the print your own signs and labels, are excellent. So please do look at those. And then on page 2 of your resource sheet, you'll find things where you can order placards or labels for your line. Also free posters and really a variety of things. So please take some time to look through that resource sheet.
Excellent. Thanks, Molly. So once you've selected the areas that you're planning to work on, that resource sheet and all of the ideas that Molly and I have provided related to those 6 strategies will become really useful for deciding what you're actually going to do. One thing that Molly and I are excited to provide this year is the opportunity to provide you with either a dry erase menu poster board, which is pictured on the right, and or a fruit display that you can see on the left there. So if any of the interventions that you select from the scorecard involve displaying fruit or using a menu board, we have these available, and we can send them out to you upon request. So once you have completed your action plan, if one of these would be helpful to carrying that out, one or both, please do let Molly and I know, and we can get those shipped out to you. So we have a few minutes left to share just a few successes from last year's teams. We had a great group of folks participating last year in the project, partners from SNAP Ed and School Food Service. And so I wanted to share a few successes. You've seen some of the photos in earlier slides, but for example, our Lee Elementary School selected to work on offering fresh fruit at breakfast and lunch in a fun wire basket. And this did result in an additional 44 pounds of fruit served each day to students, selected by students, so that was a great success. Another example at West Elementary in Butte was that students entering the cafeteria line, they made a change so that they would see the white milk first. I believe that's supposed to say, Molly. We have a correction to make there. Students entering the cafeteria line would see the white milk first. So by moving that white milk to be the first option, West Elementary School increased their white milk sales by 62%. So previously they would see the chocolate milk first, and then they made a change to the white milk, and this did increase their white milk sales. And as Molly mentioned earlier, saves money for the food service program as well. At Elrod School in Kalispell, they did do partnered with some students to create a unique service line design, so you can see the difference in color with the new artwork on the after picture, and this is a great example of how a picture shares with us 1,000 words.
Okay, so thank you for your, like I said, we like to share what Montana schools are doing, so we appreciate what the pilot schools did last year. And just to wrap up, I'd like to run through the timeline with you again. Again, in November, we'll be doing our reading up about Smarter Lunchrooms. You'll be fully trained after watching the webinar and looking at the materials. December is a month that you would meet with your team, complete the scorecard. Drafting an action plan would occur in December. Once you have your action plan drafted, please submit those documents to Molly Stenberg by January 8th. So by January 8th, we'd like to have your scorecard, the draft of your action plan with the evaluation ideas, and request a time for a check-in phone call. In January, we'll check in with a phone call to approve your action and evaluation plan. And then in January and February will be the do it step where you will be making your change. And then by March, we'd like you to be proving it. Step 4, you will do the prove it step, which involves taking your post photos, doing another scorecard, your post scorecard, collecting any data to prove your evaluation strategies, and then submitting all of that documentation to Molly Stenberg by March 30th. We also have a final report that we'd like you to submit by March 30th, and from that final report and your photos, we could help you develop a success story in a press release. So it's a pretty simple timeline. We're really looking forward to working with you, and if you have any questions about the timeline or any question overall, please don't hesitate to contact us at these numbers.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Molly, and thank you all for joining us today. We're so excited to have you on board. And again, please feel free to reach out to Molly or I via phone or email with any questions on the timeline, the reporting, that kind of thing. We're here to support you, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you.